On Monday, a former head NFL doctor gave Tua Tagovailoa just a 10% chance to play the entire 2020 season. But Deion Sanders doesn't seem too concerned with the quarterback's stock. Deion said of Tua, quote, "This guy's a winner. You know he can overcome adversity. He makes correct decisions. The thing I love about him the most is the way he handles himself in front of the microphone, in front of his teammates, and when his back is up against the wall." So, Shannon, do you like the points that Deion made here?
Yes, and he's echoing the points that I've been trying to make for the longest time, Skip. And I hate using caveats if, but you and I both know, had he not dislocated that hip, he's going to be the #1 pick in the draft. He's that talented. And if you look at the tape, all you have to do is cut on the tape for 3 years. I'm not saying 1 year. I'm not saying 1 game. I'm not saying 1 season. Cut on the tape. He has the most extensive tape. He's played the absolute best over that period of time. I don't even know why Justin Herbert is even in this conversation. I really don't, Skip. Because I don't know if, Skip, do you remember that game against Auburn? And he threw the Hail Mary 15 rows into the stand? Now, that's the guy that they said should be the #2 quarterback off the board. It's not even close. So I'm not even talking about him. Basically, we're talking about Joe Burrow. Skip, if you look at the decision-making of Tua, you look at the touch, the anticipation, the accuracy in which he throws the ball with, Skip, it's second to none. I'm not saying 1 season because Joe Burrow, I believe statistically, had the greatest season ever. I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback ever. I'm saying he's had the greatest season ever. But 2018, he was the quarterback. And he didn't put up anything comparable to these numbers. If I'm not mistaken, Skip, I think it was 16-5. So that last season was unbelievable. But Tua, for me, Skip, there's nothing not to like. Yes, I understand the injury history, and you have to factor that in. Because a top 5 pick, Skip, basically you're going to guarantee that guy $20+ million. But, Skip, that talent is too good to pass up. And I believe he's the best quarterback in this draft. I believe he's the best player in this draft. And I definitely would take him #1. And I echo everything Time said. But you know, I've been preaching that for like a year.
You have. And you have been wrong for a year. And as much as I love Deion Sanders, he's wrong about this. I do agree with you about Justin Herbert. I've thought from the start, I did not see the poise. I did not see the command required to make the leap from college to pro football. And I think whoever takes Justin Herbert will forever regret it and forever be frustrated with his lack of growth. He's got all the measurables, all the intangibles. He's a great young man. He's a pleasure to be around. I get all that. And then I saw one report this morning, it may be off the wall, but that Coach Belichick was interested in trying to trade up for Justin Herbert. If that happens, God bless Coach Belichick. Now back to you and, as you call him, prime time, Deion Sanders. You have made all these points from the start. Deion made them very strongly that he likes body of work. As he said, you've got 3 years of solid game film versus just the 1 year you talked about for Joe Burrow. And as to quote Deion, he says, you know what? This guy, Tua, is just a winner. He has that portfolio that says to you, he can overcome adversity. So Deion's actually taking the litany of injuries, the 3-year injury history, and turning it into a positive, saying, well, he showed you he can overcome adversity. And he showed you what a great leader he is. And he says, I love him at the microphone because he's commanding. And, okay, I get all that. Tua is a great kid. And I think he would be a very good leader for a pro football team. But I got 2 big problems, and they will not go away. And one has to do with injury, and the other has to do with performance in big games. Quickly on the injuries again, it wasn't just 2 or 3, it was 6 or 8. Again, the ESPN report, 5 surgeries while he was at Alabama. You can say 4 of them were of the minor variety, although I've always thought there's no minor surgery. And the one was major, the broken hip, could have been career-threatening. All the doctors around Tua say he's just fine. They've completely cleared him. But he did have a concussion, and he did have a broken nose, and he had a broken index finger on his throwing hand that did require surgery. And then he had some knee issue that I'm guessing required some kind of a scope surgery, scope cleanup of some sort of cartilage. And then he tore he didn't tear it, he pulled his quad, and it cost him games. And then you know what happened with the 2 ankle surgeries. It's called tightrope surgery, and it's not a pretty sight. Both of them required surgery, and they could plague him down the road. And then, of course, the hip. So on top of all that, even if you say, well, he fought through the adversity and he kept bouncing back quickly from that, I'll give you that. But then we talk about 3 years of solid tape. Wow. Well, I know 3 games that I watched that I wouldn't consider solid. And the first one was that 2018 SEC championship game. I watched the whole thing, and Tua was horrible. And he just unraveled, came apart at the seams, lost his poise, lost his accuracy. And all I know is 10 of 25 for 164 and 2 picks and a QBR of 29, scale of 0 to 100. And he got yanked. And it was Jalen Hurts who came in and saved the day by outscoring Georgia in the fourth quarter 14-0 and vaulting them ahead into the playoffs and then into the championship game, in which Tua threw 2 more interceptions as they got blown out by Clemson. And he had a QBR in that game of 59, scale 0 to 100. Not great, not exemplary, not first pick in the draft sort of performance. And then obviously I watched every snap at Tuscaloosa last year against LSU. So he's playing at home, and he has 19 incompletions, did Tua, 21 of 40. And he threw for big yards, 418, 4 touchdowns, threw another interception. His QBR was okay at 73, but not great, not Joe Burrow numbers. And Joe Burrow just completely outclassed and outplayed him on his own field. And people say, and Shannon's been the first to say, well, Joe struggled his first year. He went to a program that was prehistoric on offense. In the history of that program, they've never had an offense. They've always had a defense. They've almost always had a good to very good, sometimes great teams. Some of those Les Miles teams were great on defense. They couldn't score. And he had to slowly but surely change the culture with his swagger and his like supreme good. He's got sort of an arrogance, like a positive arrogance to him. He's pretty great at the microphone, too. We saw him counting the rings on his fingers coming off the field in the championship game. I saw him at Texas the first night that I was watching him on that Saturday night. He's pointing to people up in the stands like, you, and you. I shut you up and you up and you up. He changed their culture. Now, Joe Brady came in as a low-level assistant from the Saints that nobody even knew. And, yeah, they spread people out more, and they let Joe do what Joe does best. He did have the greatest season ever, statistically, and then down the stretch, those last 3 games, SEC championship game, Oklahoma, Clemson, all he did, Shannon, was complete 70% of his passes, 16 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a QBR for the 3 games combined of 98. It's unheard of. I don't think he missed a throw. I'm not sure he missed a throw the whole year. He had good receivers, but I don't think they were as good as Tua's. He had a good offensive line, a very good offensive line, but I don't think it was Alabama's. So in the end, Joe Burrow, he can move just like Tua can. He can run with it when you dare him to. He's a good athlete. He's almost 4 inches taller than Tua. I'm sorry, I don't see what you and Deion are seeing here or not seeing in Joe Burrow that you are seeing in Tua. I don't get it.
Skip, I know a guy that had back surgery, wrecked his back his last year, came out early, and is going to go down as the greatest tight end in NFL history. Now, you could have passed on him, even though he's missed 34 games. You think Coach Belichick, if somebody would have told you, okay, you take Gronk in the second round with that bad back, now he's going to miss 34 starts, but this is what he's going to give you. So if Tua doesn't play 20 years or 15 years like some of these other quarterbacks, and he gives you the production that you believe that his talent and skill set says that he's capable of giving you, Skip, you run that, you take that chance. You take that. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm the only guy that a guy can throw for 418, 4 touchdowns, and Skip says he played bad. Now, we know his defense let him down, and you said, Coach Saban's defense, Coach Saban ain't Nick. Now, you won't mention nothing about ain't Nick. They gave up 48 at home, the most that they had given up in what? Almost 100-year history of the program. St. Nick's defense did that, but you didn't mention that. Now, you want to put that all on Tua. If they could stop somebody, Tua was going up and down the field, but they had spotted him 14.
Shannon, he barely completed 50% of his passes against LSU. He was 21 of 40. That's not great. That's not first pick in the draft sort of productivity.
Skip, you know what they do. A lot of Tua throws are down the field. That's what's so amazing, is that they launch the ball as much as they do. Skip, they don't run a whole lot of jailbreak screens. If you look at Tua, he's pushing the ball down the field. Now, he's done this with two different coordinators. Because remember, Sarkisian, last year, his previous coordinator, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, is the head coach at Maryland. So we've seen under two different head coach schemes, Tua have magnificent numbers. We've seen Joe Burrow only on one scheme have significant numbers. So that's all I'm saying, Skip. But for Tua, his body of work, his resume is as impeccable as anybody in this draft.
Okay, I'm going to give you this. Tua has a lightning release. He has rare instincts on gambling and pulling off what I consider tight window throws. He has a flair for that dramatic. And I love all that about him. It's a gift. You can't teach it. You can't coach it. But he did get so beat up that I saw flinchy in the pocket. I saw antsy. I saw a little bit of happy feet and a little bit of, oh, I gotta throw it now. And